Okay, Cancer, this one is for you. And don't think you can get away with anything, okay? It's just going to be as challenging for you as it is for everyone else, okay? I'm just going to get, cards were already shuffled in advance, okay? All right, but we go to the last second so that you're a witness. Before we get back into the cards, I want to do the quick Tarot Illumination Astro Doodle with you. I pulled out a few dates. We'll come to that in a second. Okay, so you know August was really choppy in July because of the eclipses and everything, okay? And in September, things are going to smooth out because a lot of the personal planets are going direct again, but the big heavy ones outside are still, you know, retrograding, a bunch of them. So, you know, it's okay. Enjoy the relief, the, the gentle release of pressure here for September. But please also understand that there's still a lot of very stressful things happening under the surface. I think of it as rip currents, very deep undertows, which can still be extremely challenging for us to handle. Okay? I'm not trying to scare you, Cancer, but it's the same for you as everyone else here. Every single one of us is challenged in some way by this stuff. Da-da-da. Now, this is all pretty wobbly. Remember, I'm not one of those super high-powered academic astrologers. I'm an amateur at very best. But I can't help noticing these patterns. I'm not adding all the sweet, gooey, yummy stuff because we take that for granted. But for now, I want to show you the stressful aspects. And this stuff is on and off pretty much the whole month. We've been dealing with it already. This is the Taurus Scorpio opposition, the Mars opposite Leo energy over here. So you end up with this one is very stressful. The Mars Uranus alignment here, very volatile, very unpredictable, very unstable. Like anything could blow anytime for any reason. Just watch the Weather Channel, watch all the, the fires, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the floods, all of that kind of stuff. Bam, out of nowhere. Now you add in all these extra layers, it just increases and magnifies the tension and pressure. Okay, like, all this stuff over here in Scorpio opposing Taurus and vice versa. All this stuff here with Mars opposing Leo and vice versa. And so you end up with these like floating grand crosses. And you got this big Pisces Virgo opposition going on. People are hardly talking about this, but to me this is important. Anyway, it affects you just as much as it affects anyone. All I'm suggesting is please be aware that just below the surface of smooth sailing are some very deep rip currents, okay? Now I want to go to some specific dates for you, Cancer. This is what I pulled out. September the 5th. Why? Well, the moon is in Cancer, so that's sweet for you. Might make you feel very much at home. It might make you feel very emotional, but it just happens that coincidentally we have like a very fleeting grand Earth trine and a grand water trine simultaneously. So that's really sweet for you. So please make the most of that energy around that time, early September the 5th, okay? September 13th, we have basically Moon in Scorpio in your 5th house. Add that along with the Jupiter and Venus in Scorpio. That's a lot of emphasis on your 5th house of true love. Ooh. Romance, okay? Passion type of stuff going on there. It might be amplified in some way or other. Please allow for that. Again, it's fleeting because of the moon energy. Next dates we have September 17th. We have the moon in Capricorn, which is directly opposing you. Now remember, I don't have it marked here, but remember, we still have Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn up here for a long time, years to come, and it's opposing you over here, okay, Cancer? So there's a big opposition going on. Now you add the moon over here, so it's going to amplify. You're going to feel the sense of opposition. It might feel very heavy and opposing for you just for a few days around the 17th and 18th. September 24th over here, September 24th, we have a freaking huge, again, transiting T-square between the Taurus, between the Aries and Libra energy with Capricorn right in the middle. Okay, so just please be allowed, please allow for that. And that's opposing you because you're on the other side of this T-square. Okay, so please allow for that. September 24th could be a very stressful couple of days for you when it comes to love and relationship or everything, frankly. So I'm going to put this aside now. You know, if we have to, we'll come back later, but let's get on with this. Sorry, I went on. It's hard for me to stop. Once I get in a roll, I feel I have to disclose what I can offer. So please make the best of it. I'm trying to keep these readings short and sweet and fun and entertaining. I don't want to turn into like an hour-and-a-half oracle thing. Cards are shuffled well in advance. You know that already. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising. There's no jumpers, flyers, oracles, and no reversals. That's just how it is here. We try to keep it as simple as possible. Please, when you're doing this, invite your invisible friends, your angels. That's what we do here at Tarot Illumination. I'm bringing everything I've got here for you, Cancer. I'm doing everything that I can, all right? We're going to use the Tarot Illumination Crucible spread. It's on the understanding that there's you, significant other, and a third entity, the relationship itself. You'll see that when we pull out the cards. The crucible is a structure. You'll see. Okay, let's just do it. Hold on. Here's the energy that you're radiating. Here's the energy they're radiating. Deep down inside of you, radiating. Deep down inside of the other, they're radiating. And deep here at the core of the relationship itself, what's going on right there. And then if you think of this as a flowing, a living thing, then we have a sense of momentum that comes out of this, okay? So can you see here the crucible shape? This is the bowl. This is the structure. A crucible is a structure, typically a round type, very heavy, high refractory ceramic bowl that can withstand intense pressures in alchemical reactions and not fall apart, so that the reaction can actually have a chance to occur. Okay, so that's what happens a lot of times in human relationships. But a lot of times the relationship itself is not strong enough because the parties have not invested. They have not matured enough. You have not matured enough. They have not matured enough. And the relationship blows apart. It's understandable. It happens very frequently. In a truly loving relationship, both parties understand that. And they come in from a loving perspective and they invest in the relationship so that they can intimate and separate without everything blowing up. Over here, circumstantial energy. Think of it as weather. We're going to make the best of it. Okay, Cancer, what have you got going on? Ten of Swords. So you might reach a point here. I'm thinking probably when the moon is in Capricorn. Remember that date we were talking about? Which one is it? Hold on, let me have a look here. I'm thinking September 17th, 18th, around that time when the moon is in Capricorn. Early in the month, things might feel sweet and benign and gentle and everything. Excuse me. We have these other stressors going on, but towards the end of the month, and when we have the moon in Capricorn, in some ways that can be really stressful for you, dear Cancer. So what I'm suggesting here is that it would be perfectly okay for you to feel as though you can't take it anymore in certain aspects of love and relationship, to the point where you realize that enough is enough. And you're not going to be a pincushion for anyone or everyone else anymore. You're toast. You're completely foobar, effed up, beyond repair. F-U-B-A-R. F-U-B-R. Foobar. Anyway, please allow for that. I'm not saying this is you personally. This is circumstantial energy. So if you're feeling as though you're reaching these culmination points where you're seeing the very best of things and the very worst of things, and the weather, the circumstances around you are showing you how you are complicit in your own self-undoing, then please know and understand that this is a gift. It's really, really important for us to learn and understand how we operate and where, what is the weak link in our chain, in ourselves, where you just touch that and everything falls apart. Okay, that's what I'm feeling is going on here. I think in September it's really appropriate for you to become aware of that, and I think it's going to be brought into sharp focus, especially around these dates that we mentioned. Okay, you know, September 17th and 18th, and basically later in the month. Okay, October, Like, think of it that way, because at that point the sun will be square to you anyway. So you could have an excuse. You could actually blame it all on the planets. Yay! We do that a lot here at Tarot Illumination, by the way. I just want to let you know. And I do that in my personal life too. I do a lot of study and homework just to keep myself going and alive as a human being. And I studied the charts and everything very carefully, because for some reason Tarot Illumination is hypersensitive to this stuff. And if I do not pay attention to these currents, these energies, guess what happens? Everything turns to SHIT very, very quickly. So like it or not, I am duty bound to pay close attention to all of this, and I'm just sharing what I find out with you guys, okay? So you're the lucky recipient. Let's have a look. What are you radiating here? Hold on, we just showed this. Okay, let's acknowledge this. Let's understand it. Certain things cannot be acceptable anymore. What about you? What are you radiating here, though? Let's have a look. Queen of Pentacles. So forget the gender. Just look at the energy here. My feeling with the Queen of Pentacles is that despite your challenges, despite the almost what appears to be insurmountable odds, to the point where it's just like, I can't handle this anymore. I'm completely stretched out, maxed out to the limits of my abilities. Please understand, remember, dear Cancer, that you're under tremendous pressure here because of Pluto and Capricorn. I'm not going to mark the chart here, but Pluto and Saturn are here. And that's very heavy, serious energy. It's not going away, and especially coming up early next year. And then the next year, January 2020, the pressure is going to increase on you, Cancer, from the position of opposition, okay? Over here to over here, okay? That's an awful lot of pressure. It's very heavy, unrelenting pressure on you, Cancer. And so you might be feeling like, well, I'm doing everything I can, okay? I know I'm gorgeous. I know I have all this. I know I have my gifts, my talents, my resources. I know I'm very valuable in a loving relationship. I know I'm very deeply valued in a loving relationship, but I'm also deeply aware that there's some very, very stressful challenges going on. Thank you very much. I will prevail. There's no question about it, because I am the Queen of Pentacles here in the energy that I'm radiating. However, this is a pile of SHIT. And I'm not going to pretend it's not there, because to do that, to ignore that, is very, very dangerous. Okay, so here we are. That's what you're radiating. What about the significant other? Okay, well, they're hanging in. It looks like they're hanging in with you, because my feeling is that on their side of the relationship, they're dealing with their own issues, okay? Whatever they might be. Like, it's none of your business. It's just because they're an individual, okay? They have a right to be exactly who they are as an individual. But we're talking about in the context of a relationship here. They might feel as though they're being stretched to the very limits of their capabilities. On the other hand, they can handle it, and they are handling it. They might not want to be there, but they're there, and they're doing it. Okay, they might realize that, oh my gosh, I've actually painted myself into a corner, but then that's my destiny. That is my lot. I can handle it. I can deal with it. I've been through stuff like this before. I've been through stuff that's even worse. So I will prevail. I would rather not be here in this way, but if this is how it is, then so be it. So this is almost like a feeling of stability, substance, and endurance, the passion and the desire to endure and prevail against all odds. Okay? Against all odds. What are you radiating here at the core? Okay? And a absolutely clear determination for this to work. Okay? There is no room for failure. There is no option here except to succeed, except to win. Okay, with the King of Swords here, it's almost like you, Cancer, are radiating like at your maximum capacity, whatever it is you have to do to prevail, by tapping into truth, honesty, raw facts, raw information, knowledge, wisdom, everything that you know. Combine that with your, let's say, your natural resources, your natural gifts, plus all your mental acuity, anything and everything that you've got that could be called a resource that you are putting into this relationship uh, for yourself, for your own stability, your own purposes, your own gain, your own self-respect, your own self-worth, okay? And that's a very noble thing to do, especially when you feel as though it's almost against all odds here. It's somehow or other, it's just like, it's almost like, seriously? Seriously? You think you can mess with me? Dear relationship circumstances, yes. We are at the point of like maximum pressure here, to the point where, let's just say things are going to fall apart. Certain things are going to fall apart. Certain things are no longer acceptable and they would naturally fall away. Blame it all in the eclipses if you want to. But that's not going to destroy me. It's not going to destroy the relationship. That's not going to destroy my integrity, my truth here at the core heart. I guarantee that for a fact, okay? We're going to move on from all of this. That's how it looks here. What are they radiating at the core here? Okay. Okay, with the basically judgment here, it's almost like, this is almost feels like a cracking open of a like a dinosaur egg. I mean, it sounds ridiculous for me to say that, but it's almost like the pressure is intense. There's a lot of intense pressure here. I know like the September season is actually quite harmonious for you. The Pisces Virgo axes are right here. Okay? That's very theoretically harmonious energy for you. But actually this energy is in hard opposition with itself. Duh. Even though the Pisces and Virgo is harmonious with you. So it's giving you a chance to deal with these hyper stressful energies here, especially the Capricorn oppositions happening up here, in such a way that you are rising into your power, like almost like intellectually speaking, where you're rising above the lovey-dovey romance stuff, the relationship dynamics, and deciding like, it's all about, so to me it feels like it's all about protect and defend. There is absolutely no way that the goodness that is here is going to be destroyed. There are no cup cards here at this moment in time, but it's almost like I'm damned if I'm going to let anybody destroy the good stuff, okay? We might be absolutely maxed out, stressed to the max levels of figuring out what to do and how to do it, knowing that there are certain aspects of the relationship that are completely foobar and will never ever recover, and accepting the loss and moving on, but that's okay. In war, that's what happens. You know you're going to get collateral damage. You just know that. You're going to suffer casualties, but you keep going. So my feeling is over here, deep down, your loved one knows that. They need to know that. They need to know that you are here to the max, and that you love them and care so much enough that you are willing to go to the max in order to protect and defend the relationship and literally generate the energy of liberty, liberation, and freedom inside of themselves that they need, because it feels to me like they can't do this without you. Okay? And that's not codependency. That's just what happens when people end up in relationships, and dynamics and energy starts to flow and energy gets exchanged. It looks to me like they're doing an incredibly good job of hanging in a situation that is in fact very, very challenging, almost completely to the point of not being able to survive or make it. But they're still dealing with it because they are passionate about the love and the relationship, and they are committed and they're willing to keep going, because it's almost like they demand liberty, they demand freedom, they demand reconciliation, they demand basically like a whole new start, a whole new beginning in their lives, and they're damned if that's not going to happen. Okay, so it's almost like a struggle against fate here, where both parties are wrapped in this tumultuous struggle, where it feels like it's like almost like life and death of the relationship, of the self, of the other. and all of you feel it. You feel it with them, they feel it with you, and the relationship feels it's itself. And there is a total, utter determination to prevail here against all odds. What about the relationship itself? Okay. So with the Five of Swords here, remember this is a reading for you, Cancer. It's not a couple's reading. We're allowing for a significant other. We're allowing for like the relationship dynamics to flow itself. So when I see the Five of Swords here, my feeling here is to be aware that it's almost like both of you in your own ways are being stretched to the limits where you're having to prove yourself to each other and prove yourselves to yourselves. Okay? And it might feel very, very stressful. Like, I don't really, it's almost like I really don't want to do this. I don't want to get sucked into this thing. I don't want to do this stuff either. It's really, really stressful. Can't you tell? Look at me. Look at me. Well, don't worry. I've still got all of this and I'm totally committed. Don't worry about it. I'm absolutely determined that we're going to figure this out. Like, well, I sure hope so, because I really need it. I need to break free. I need a complete new start on life, love and relationship, everything. And it's going to be all about us. How are we going to do this? And so it might be feeling like, you know, for the near future, that you guys are battling it out in such a way that, you know, without having to destroy the relationship, you're taking the relationship to the limits of its ability, where it's almost like you're trying to prove to them and they're trying to prove to them that you can handle this, you can take care of this, they can take care of this. It's taking you to the extreme, it's taking them to the extremes, where at any moment in time, anything that does go wrong, you could easily blame it on them and they could easily blame it on you. So that makes things very, very volatile, very, very precarious, okay? Even though we're going through the September season, which is theoretically quite harmonious for you, I think what's happening is that all these other fractious energies are somehow or other undermining the good stuff and the stability and taking both of you to the limits of your abilities. What about prospects and momentum? Ho, 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 ho. Somehow or other, you guys figure it out. Yo. It's almost like it's worth it. It's almost like literally, you know how that happens with couples sometimes when they know that they have to figure it out, otherwise they lose everything. And so they decide, you know what? We are going to figure it out. If we have to go to war with each other, we're going to do that. If we have to literally face off each other in our own egoic senses, knowing deep, deep down that we have to go through this and face the energy of our own futility. How, like for you, Cancer, if you're feeling like some of the energy that's coming from them is very like futile, and you understand that they need the liberation of the freedom, and you're saying, well, why don't you just release yourself? And they're saying to you, well, that's okay. That's really, really great. I'm so happy to have you, dear Cancer. I'm so glad you're on our side, on my side, and you've got so much to offer, and you don't even know what to do with your energy right now. That's great. But the reality is that we're almost like we're hurting each other in this. And this needs to stop, okay? We can figure it out. We can figure it out. But you're figuring it out the hard way. And then when you do figure it out the hard way, guess what happens? You realize, dang, we did all that the hard way. We didn't have to. Because it feels to me like here, this is like a very, very painful way for you guys to come together in a way that actually works. Where you can realize, my gosh, it's almost like, what was I thinking? And you're like, and the other person is like, what was I thinking? But the only way you could have known this or figured any of it out is in the context of this relationship. So it feels to me that the crucible itself, the relationship itself, is being taken to the very limits of its ability. And that doesn't surprise me, given my personal interpretation of all this, all these super stressors and the little calendar moments that I'm noting here, okay? So add it all up, then this all makes sense as far as I'm concerned, because it looks like when you squish it all together, it's almost like, wow, what were we fighting about? This is awesome. You're absolutely gorgeous. Wow, you're absolutely gorgeous too. I had no idea. We have to figure this out. How did we come to this conclusion? Why did we have to take such a hard, painful way to figure this out? It's almost like, do you really care? Like, I guess not, because I feel like I get reborn. I was like, well, that's cool. That was the whole point, wasn't it? At the heart soul level? I guess so, yeah. So we did it, didn't we? I guess we did. Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, we did it through conflict. We grow and emerge and evolve through conflict, but we freaking did it. We did it. It's time to celebrate. We need to celebrate. Woohoo! Wow, that's so cool. Thank you. Huh. Who would have guessed, Cancer? Wow, that's a lot of pressure, man. That is a lot of pressure. Okay, let's leave it at that. You can reinterpret however you want. You know what to do, okay? Bye-bye.